Did you know that your stiffness or even hyperflexibility can affect your results in the gym? Today we're going to talk about range of motion, so let us explain. Welcome to us at Goat Sports for today's competence video. My name is Adrian Skepi, and with me is my colleague, Coach Martin Strante. So Martin, when you ask a bunch of people, what is range of motion? I bet the answers will differ a lot. So I'm asking the same question to you. What is range of motion?
So very simply, Adrian, range of motion is the amount of distance your joint can move.
And we have a bunch of joints in our body.
Exactly.
Could you give us some examples for where is most needed and where usually it's most stiff?
Exactly. So where it's most needed, that of course depends on your sport and activity. But for example, your shoulder joint is one of the body's most flexible joints. So range of motion is basically how far it can move in its various different directions.
All right. So why is it important to have enough range of motion?
Well, let's say you're playing some kind of sport and you need to perform some type of exercise or some type of movement. This movement requires some type of range of motion, right? Maybe you have to lift your arm all the way up, you want to complete a dunk, or you have a football kick. That requires some type of range of motion. So if you don't have that range of motion, you might injure yourself, or you might not perform it as good as you could.
Of course. Well, without maybe going in too much in details, but why would one injure yourself if you don't have the right amount of range of motion?
Because then you're basically forcing yourself into a position that your body can't handle.
I get it. So that means that if I want to do that kick and my leg can't go as far back, something else will make my body maybe twist and turn.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of happens.
Definitely. Your body will figure it out. It might overextend its back, or it will complete some type of movement to get where needed, but that might not be the best way to solve it.
All right. Well, now we're talking a little bit about sport specific, but what about for everyday life?
Well, that could be as simply as like you're washing your head with shampoo. That requires some type of shoulder mobility. And especially like older people that are not used to using their hands over their head, this could be very tough because they don't have the range of motion to lift their shoulder up and rotate and be up there. So
it is that common for day-to-day activity. Well, it's important to understand that, because or else you'll read about range of motion and you'll think, okay, this is only in the gym, but it affects us everywhere. So you mentioned that older people usually have problems with the range of motion. What is important for them to understand?
Well, it starts when we're younger, maybe we're in 30s, 40s, 50s, that we have to maintain the mobility they would have. So if we don't use our mobility, or our range of motion in other words, we're going to use it. So if you don't lift your arm all the way up and you don't do stuff over your head, you're going to lose that range of motion. So we have to work out, we have to move our body, we have to do things daily to maintain the mobility that we have. So when we get older, we have the strength, we have the range of mobility to perform the daily activities that we need to perform.
So one thing about maintaining, and not only when we get older, it's that even if we have like a job or a sport that we perform that is very one-sided, and this can be, I mean, even a mother holding a child always with the same side, that the stiffness could shift from one side to the other. Because like you said earlier, the body will always find a way to go forward. So if I'm a lot more stiff on the right side of my body and I'm a lot more flexible on the left side of my body, what my body will do is it kind of makes that central line a little bit more to the left. So I will always be a little bit twisted because it wants to have the same amount of range towards both sides. So it's important to, like when you're at the gym, if you work out with something with one hand instead of doing it with both, you'll see that there could be differences as well. But if one would want to improve the range of motion, let's say they listen to us and they find out that, okay, maybe I'm stiff, maybe I'm hyperflexible, maybe I'm crooked.
Yeah.
What are things they can do to improve that range of motion?
Well, these are the simple things. It's stretching, something you do daily. This could be a static stretch, maybe you're stretching out your shoulder. It can be a dynamic stretch where you're working in a fluid motion. But also when you do a lot of stretching, dynamic stretching, you also have to strengthen that range of motion. So combine this with some type of strength movements. So we recommend usually some type of stretching, dynamic stretching, combined with strength training.
Of course. Well, very nice. So just to wrap it up then for you guys at home, make sure that you improve your range of motion. If you have it, you manage that and maintain it. And easy ways of doing it is either static stretches, dynamic stretches, or of course, adding some weight training to those movements. And then I bet you'll feel a lot better. So thank you guys for watching our competence videos. Follow us on all our platforms and make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode. Take care.